Good morning, gamers. There's 2 weeks left in Spooktober and Nintendo is dominating the headlines, so let's get into it. Today's stories are Nintendo's Game Freaky Poke Problems, the N64 returns in 4K, Spider-Man 2 slings onto PC, IRL Minecraft experience, Riot fans riot, and PlayStation loses in court. All this and more on Game News Now. The Pokemon community had a bit of a freakout after news that Game Freak is the latest developer to be hacked and have its data leaked online. After this leak was reported, Game Freak themselves released a statement confirming the hack. 1 terabyte of documents leaked containing work-in-progress sprites from Gen 3 to 5, concept art for the original anime, a pitch for the Detective Pikachu sequel, the codename for the Switch 2, and Pokemon background lore. The background lore has particularly taken the internet by storm, revealing fairly disturbing lore behind Arceus, Slacking, Rapidash, Octillery, Ursaring, and the notorious, now memeable, Typhlosion. The initial machine translations of the lore are particularly disturbing due to Pokemon-human crossbreeding, but later, more accurate human translations have been less egregious. The lore is actually all based around actual Japanese lore surrounding traditional myths and yokai spirits, and while those can get pretty dark, this is probably why they didn't outright state them in the games and chose to hold back. I'm not saying anything is right or wrong here, just where the ideas come from. Many have actually likened the Typhlosion story more to like a Beauty and the Beast here in the West. The files also contain Pokemon Company meeting records and leaked personal information of current, former, and contract workers, including their names and company email addresses. In addition, the builds for Black and White 2, X, and Y were also obtained in the leak, and the full source code for Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Platinum. Nintendo's Poke Problems just won't stop. Analogue has announced the Analogue 3D, a region-free, FPGA, non-emulated, 4K Nintendo 64 that is compatible with every single N64 game that has been created. The system comes with Bluetooth LE, dual-band Wi-Fi, and 4 original controller ports. Not using emulation, it's said to have less input lag, graphic, audio glitches, and frame rate issues. You can use the original 64 controllers to play games with up to 4-player split screen. They also collaborated with 8BitDo to create the 8BitDo 64 controller, which ditches the claw and remakes it with a Bluetooth modern take on the controller. It features an improved and not at all loose or flimsy Hall effect joystick with an octagonal gate like the original. The D-pad and buttons layout are also identical to the original and come with built-in vibration with no rumble pack needed. The system's features include region-free compatibility with all N64 games, controllers and accessories with matching slots, 4K HDMI, NTSC, and PAL support, original display modes with variable refresh rate. It also has a built-in expansion pack, memory pack, 2 USB-A ports for charging and wired support, an SD card slot with included 16GB SD card, USB-C power input. It comes with an HDMI cable, USB cable, and a worldwide USB-C 30-watt 240-volt power supply. Pre-orders start October 21st for $250 with no controllers included. On October 18th, Insomniac announced Marvel's Spider-Man 2 game for PC at the New York Comic-Con with Nixxes Software, who worked on the ports of the previous games, performing the port once again. The port is set to include keyboard and mouse support, ultra widescreen support, numerous graphics options, and enhanced ray tracing, with more to be announced closer to launch. NVIDIA DLSS with FrameGen, Intel XeSS, and AMD FSR with FrameGen were all included with the Miles Morales game and will likely also be included, though they haven't announced it. The game will include all of the updates made to the original PS5 version, including New Game Plus, new suits and variants, and the photo mode. The Fly and Fresh Suit Pack charity collab with nonprofit Gameheads will also be available, with PC getting it at launch with no additional cost. Paradoxically, Insomniac has come out confirming that there is no additional story content planned despite the leaks last year. There was also the unintentional dev access debug menu that was left in a previous game patch that outlined the entire story arc of a potential DLC release that lined up with said leaks. The game will be released January 30th, 2025 in 2 editions, Standard and Digital Deluxe, with an upgrade path to Deluxe from Standard later. The game will be available on both Steam and Epic Game Stores. The price has yet to be announced. Microsoft and Mojang Studios have opened an interactive Minecraft exhibit exhibit in Plano, Texas, near the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Kids and parents can go experience the world of Minecraft in real life at the Minecraft Experience Villager Rescue. Executive director of the exhibit, Oliver Goulet, worked with Microsoft and Mojang Studios to get the exhibit to feel as close to the game as possible and took 2 years to complete. The exhibit is highly interactive, with many of the floors and walls using several projectors and hundreds of speakers to immerse the guests in the feel of the Minecraft world. Goulet was inspired to create the exhibit based around the moments he enjoyed playing the game with his children. The exhibit takes about an hour to complete the puzzles, story, and mini-games, using resources and crafting items while fighting off enemies. Guests use a special cube called the Orb of Interaction to, interact with the projections. After completing a tutorial, the guests progress through 8 biomes in groups of 25. All the projections were created in the Minecraft game engine and scaled up to human proportions. The exhibit was created to be a sandbox so that parents and kids could get into it and talk about things more easily, like how they work, than to get too bogged down in the story with the kids teaching the parents. They chose Plano as the exhibit's first stop because of the large Dallas fan base. If you wish to get in on this Minecraft experience, tickets for the exhibit are $32 for one person, with groups being $28 per person. The exhibit will remain open until the end of December, with more cities planned in the future. Riot Games is preparing for the release of the second season of Arcane, with the celebration including related characters and cosmetics across its multiple titles. Season 1's Ambessa Medarda releases as a new champion in League of Legends and Wild Rift. She will also be adapted to Teamfight Tactics and Legends of Runeterra. TFT adds Arcane's Powder, or Child Jinx, as a champion complete with abilities from the show, and a Chibi Caitlyn to accompany you, while FPS Valorant receives an Arcane-related cosmetic bundle. Next year's fighting game 2XKO will also release an Arcane-inspired Jinx skin. Warwick will receive a new path of champions along with the introduction of Ambessa to the game. League of Legends itself will get a reskin of the all-random, all-mid gameplay mode to the Bridge of Progress, an iconic setting in the show. There will also be a Goth Fighter V skin and Jinx Nexus Finisher with a high-end skin for Jinx that tells her Arcane story in-game. Back here in the real world, Riot has stirred up controversy after laying off 32 employees, including the creator of the notorious $450 Ari skin, after which Riot introduced a new gacha system to sell new skins they dubbed Exalted skins. These will be obtainable using the new Ancient Sparks currency for 400 RP each, blessing you with a 0.5% chance of getting an S-tier item. This does come with a pity system of an S-tier after 80 tries, or 32,000 RP. That could end up costing you $240. Needless to say, a righteous fury erupted online after the announcement. Arcane Season 2 Act 1 premieres on Netflix on November 9th, with Act 2 releasing November 16th and Act 3 on November 23rd. Finally, PlayStation just lost a fight against third-party add-ons being sold for its games. The European Court of Justice dismissed the suit against the UK company Daytel and its action replay cheat software. This case first started back in 2012 and just concluded. The judges said that cheats do not change or reproduce either the object code, source code, or internal structure and organization of Sony's software, and merely changes the content of the variables temporarily transferred by Sony's games to the console's RAM, which are used during the running of the game. The directive protects only the intellectual creation, as it is reflected in the text of the computer program's source code and object code. The court finds that the content of the variable data transferred by a computer program to the RAM of a computer and used by that program in its running does not fall within the protection specifically conferred by that directive, insofar as that content does not enable the program to be reproduced or subsequently created. The court insisted that it isn't illegal to use a copywritten work in a way that may differ from the creator's intention, liking it to the skipping to the end of a book to spoil the entire story for yourself. Which, while I agree with the decision, this isn't the best analogy. It kinda works. A better comparison would be to liken it to modifying a car, changing or tuning things to run the way you want them to. If it's an online game match, that changes things. And those players need to be swiftly smite with the heaviest of banhammers. Who on earth cares if some guy adds their own fanfic story to your game, or fixes your jank, or makes it run better? Maybe they make the game more or less balanced. or even give themselves invincibility and every item in the game. These things actually add incentives for more people to buy your game, so they can try those mods. As long as it doesn't affect other players and drives greater game sales for your game, they can do whatever they want, and you should be thanking them. I'm not a fan of cheaters, but modders keep your game alive past the expiration date, and you should remember that. And that's all for you this week. No calendar this week. Life hit pretty hard last week. As always, have a great week, have fun, play some games. I hope you have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night.